Welcome students. Today we are going to start a new topic, ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? That we have to study here. All the concepts of ecosystem also we have to study here. What is ecosystem? In nature the living organism interacts with their physical environment and forming a system called as ecosystem. Scientist A.G. Tansley in 1935 coined the term ecosystem. So what is this ecosystem? Say for example, in this picture you have seen their pond ecosystem. This is aquatic ecosystem or pond ecosystem. So ecosystem present in the water. Are you observing here? The fishes are present. Here the ducks is there. These fish, ducks, insects, these all are called as living components. These all are called living components of ecosystem. And water, soil, as well as light. So what these all are called? Non-living components. So here living components interact with non-living components and forming a system. What we can call that system is called ecosystem. It's a functional unit of nature where living organism interact with their physical environment. That means living organism interacts with non-living components like soil, water, temperature, light, and various components present in the nature. There the interaction happens between living and non-living things. We can call it as a ecosystem. Who coined the term ecosystem? A.G. Tansley in 1935 coined the term ecosystem. Okay, next point we can go. Structure and function, the types of ecosystem. How many types of ecosystems are there? Terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, man-made ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem means in that you are having a forest, a rainforest, desert, grassland forest, like that. This is called terrestrial ecosystem. The ecosystem present on the land. The ecosystem present on the land we can call as a terrestrial ecosystem. ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಭೂಮಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಟೆರಿಸ್ಟೇರಿಯಲ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಜೀವಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಿರ್ಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಫಾರ್ ದೇರ್ ನೀಡ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಎರಡನೇ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದ ಅಕ್ವೇಟಿಕ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ. ಅಕ್ವೇಟಿಕ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ಪಾಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ತಾಲಾಬ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ದೊಡ್ಡ ತಾಲಾಬ್ ಇರ್ತದ, ಲೇಕ್, ರಿವರ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್, ರಿವರ್. ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ರಿವರ್, ಇಶ್ಚುರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ? ಇಶ್ಚುರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಿ. ಸಮುದ್ರ ಮತ್ತು ಹೊಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ್ತದ ಆ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಗೆ ಇಶ್ಚುರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಕ್ವೇಟಿಕ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಏನಿದೆ? ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ದೊಡ್ಡ ತಾಲಾಬ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ವೆಟ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ವೆಟ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಶ್ಚುರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಂಥ ಪ್ಲೇಸ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ river can meet. Sea and river mating place is called estuary. So that kind of ecosystem is called aquatic ecosystem anta heltara. Man made ecosystem, see this is, you are observing this diagram, crop fields, these are called, this is a man made ecosystem. This is aquarium. In this diagram you are observing aquarium in this picture. Aquarium is also man made ecosystem. So there are three types of ecosystem: terrestrial, aquatic and man-made ecosystem. Terrestrial, that means desert, rainforest, grassland forest are the terrestrial ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem, standing water, that is a pond. big lake, that is wetland and estuary, and man-made ecosystem are crop-fields and aquarium. So these are the three main types of ecosystem we have seen here. Now, what is the next point we have to learn? In this topic, we have to study about in the ecosystem, we have to learn about structure and function of ecosystem. Structure and function. That is the first point we have to study. This entire biosphere is regarded as a global ecosystem. Entire biosphere is considered as a global ecosystem. Biosphere means where the living organism present on the earth, we can call it as a biosphere. Living organism area is called biosphere. Biosphere is a global ecosystem. Global ecosystem we can consider as. What are the ecosystem consisting of two components? Biotic components and abiotic components. They interact with each other and forming as a functional unit. I said biotic components, and what is abiotic component? That we have to learn in detail. Biotic means living component. Abiotic means non-living component. So living component and non-living component interact and forming a ecosystem. ನಿರ್ಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಿಸರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾವೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾವೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಒಂದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ. ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್. ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಲುಕ್ ದಿಸ್ a picture you can see here. The different species occupying different layers. See, in the ground layer you are having grasses. So these are the grasses. In the ground layer you are having grasses. After the ground layer, this is a forest. This one kind of, this is a forest. In this forest, you observed here at the ground layer you are having this grass plants in this area, or this is the distribution, what we can say. First distribution, ground layer, there the grasses are present. Grasses. After the grasses, medium heighted plants in this area. This medium heighted plant, that is called shrubs. Second layer, shrub. Second layer, what is that? Shrubs. And that after that, see, there is a bigger trees on this top layer. We can say the trees are there. Right from the upper layer, you can see first the trees, then shrubs, then grasses. Which is the lowermost layer is the grasses. Second layer is the trees. Third layer, what is that? Third layer, trees are present. Second layer, shrubs are present. This is called stratification. Stratification means vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels. Different species occupying different levels. Top layer, this is the third layer. What we can say, this is the top layer. In the top layer, vertical distribution you see here, at the top level you are having trees. After the trees, medium heighted plants are there. Medium heighted plants are there. Those are called shrubs. And this lowermost layer we are having a grasses. Grasses we are having. So in this way, remember, distribution of species has different layers, different levels. Lowermost layer, grasses, then shrubs, medium heighted plant, and then trees. This kind of vertical distribution is called stratification. We can call it as a stratification. Big trees occupy top layer, then shrubs, then grasses. Like that, the distribution is called a stratification process we see. Now, what is meant by, we have to learn in detail about biotic and abiotic components in the ecosystem. Which are the biotic components and which are the abiotic components in the ecosystem, that we have to study here. Okay, just I will take a whiteboard here. Which are the components of ecosystem? components of ecosystem. I will classify them into two components. Number one, abiotic component. Abiotic component of the ecosystem, which is that abiotic means non-living component. Okay, so which are the abiotic components? Number one, soil. Number second, water. Number third, temperature. Number fourth, light. Next, air. So these are called as abiotic component of the ecosystem, non-living component of the ecosystem. And which are the biotic components of the ecosystem? Biotic means living components. Biotic means living component of ecosystem. ನಂಬರ್ ಒನ್, ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ರಪ್ಪ, ನಿಸರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ನಿರ್ಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಅಂದರೆ ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಇವುಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡತ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಇದು ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್, ವಾಟರ್ ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ, ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ, ಲೈಟ್ ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ, ಏರ್ ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ ರೀತಿ ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವಿದೆ, ಸಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವಿದಾವೆ? ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫುಡ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ಗಳು. ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಎರಡನೇ ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿನ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎರಡು ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಇದಾವೆ, ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಎರಡನೇ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ದಾಗ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಬರ್ತಾವು? ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್, ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಅಂತ. ಮೈಕ್ರೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕಾಂಪೋಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ತವೆ, ಡಿಕಾಂಪೋಸರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ನಿಸರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಎಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಮತ್ತು ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವೆ, ನಿರ್ಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಇದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ನಿರ್ಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಇದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಸಾಯಿಲ್, ವಾಟರ್, ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್, ಲೈಟ್, ಏರ್. ಸಜೀವಿ ಘಟಕಗಳು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ಗಳು, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ಗಳು. ಇವೆಲ್ಲದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನೋಡೋಣ ನಾವು ಅಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಫಸ್ಟ್, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಜ್ದಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾವ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ? ಎಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಎಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. ಎಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದಿದೆ? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್. ಎಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್. ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಈಸ್ huge, or we can say large reservoir of nutrients, large reservoir of nutrients. Soil contains various nutrients. Nutrients are stored, and nutrients essential for growth and development of plants. So soil is a large reservoir of what? Nutrients. That is a micronutrients and macronutrients, and these nutrients are essential for luxuriant growth and development of plants. Soil also contains what? Soil contains humus, and which is formed by the process called as humification. Okay, this is what about the soil. Second factor after the soil, water. Water determines vegetation of particular area. Vegetation of particular area. Where there is a more water, there are more plants, more grasses are like that. If water availability is less, then there is no grasses or no trees are growing in that particular area. Even water is raw material for photosynthesis. Water is raw material for photosynthesis. Without water, there is no photosynthesis. Okay, so this is about the importance of which abiotic factor? Water. Then light. So what is the role of light in the ecosystem? Main source of energy for photosynthesis in the plants. Without light, plant cannot perform photosynthesis. Without light, plant cannot do photosynthesis, and then no food for other organisms which are depends on the plants. Okay, so this is one of the another important factor, abiotic factor, what we can call it as a light. The next factor is the temperature. Temperature determines distribution of particular species we are discussing about the factor called as temperature. So what is the factor we are describing? Temperature factor we are studying. Determines distribution of particular species in an area. In particular area, the distribution species, the distribution particular area ದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಕಾರದ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ಗಳು, ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ಗಳು ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತಾವೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಕಾರದ ಆನಿಮಲ್ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್, ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್, ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್. See, animals can maintain constant body temperature. constant body temperature called homeothermic animals. Homeothermic or warm-blooded animals. So which are the homeothermic animals? We have studied animal kingdoms. Which are those homeothermic animals? Birds and mammals. Whatever may be the external temperature, some animal maintain constant body temperature. Constant body temperature, they are called homeothermic animals or warm-blooded animals. For example, birds and mammals. Some animals cannot maintain their body temperature constant. Their body temperature constant. Such animals change their body temperature as per surrounding. Such animals are called poikilothermic animals. Or cold-blooded animals. Such animals are called cold-blooded animals. For example, snakes, fish groups, amphibians. So these are called cold-blooded animals. This is regarding the temperature factor which affects on the living organism in this manner. Based on temperature tolerance, some animals maintain their constant body temperature, they are homeothermic animals, and some animals cannot maintain constant body temperature but they change their body temperature as per the surrounding. They are called poikilothermic or cold-blooded animals. That is, we have studied in case of a topic called as animal kingdom, we have studied there. Okay. So now some animals will undergo summer sleep. Summer sleep is called estivation, and some animals will undergo winter sleep. This is called hibernation. Escape from excessive temperature, escape from extreme temperature. Some animals will undergo summer sleep. They are called estivation process. Some animals will undergo the winter sleep. That process is called as the hibernation process. To escape from the excessive or extreme temperature, some animals are adapting such kind of change or adaptation, we can say that, summer sleep and winter sleep animals. So this is very, very important factor what we have studied about temperature factor on the living organisms. That is, temperature is the one of the non-living component of the ecosystem. Okay. After the temperature, we can go for the next factor. What is that next factor we have to study? Air, another factor. What I said, in the air, what are the gases are present? CO2 and O2. All are essential for all living organisms. These factors are essential for all living organisms. Okay. These are abiotic factor we have discussed: soil, water, temperature and light. These are all are called abiotic factors of ecosystem. Now we are going to discuss about biotic components of ecosystem. These are, apart from NCERT, extra points I am discussing with you, that is abiotic components, which are those that we have to study. Abiotic component, in that the first point I will discuss about producers. So what are producers? Producer what will do? Producer uses the raw material CO2 along with raw material 6 CO2, 12 H2O producers will use, and with the help of a sunlight and with the help of a pigment called chlorophyll pigment, the plant can prepare C6H12O6 6H2O plus 6O2 molecule. So this equation represent which reaction? Photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is performed by the plants, and plants are called producers because they can prepare their food. They can prepare their food by their own. That's why they are called producers. They can do photosynthesis, produce their food by glucose food by photosynthesis they will produce, and that's why they are referred as producers. You know, in the aquatic ecosystem, diatoms are the cheap producers. Diatoms as well as algae and bryophytic plants, next bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. So all the plants group, we can refer them as a producers because they have an important process with them. What is the process called? Photosynthesis. That's why they are autotrophs. They have ability to prepare their own food by the process called photosynthesis. In aquatic ecosystem, diatoms have cheap producers. Diatoms are the cheap producers, we can say, main producers we can say. So this is what regarding the producers. After the producers, there is one more component in the ecosystem, what we can say them as a consumers. Consumers are purely heterotrophs. They cannot prepare their own food by their own. They are heterotrophs. They depends on the producers for their food. So consumers are classified into following types. Which are the consumer types? Primary consumers. Primary consumers. Primary consumers means depends on plants. Depends on plants directly. They are called primary consumers, or we also call them as a herbivorous. Depends on plants. For example, cow, deer are called primary consumers, or we also call them as a herbivorous. Herbivorous. On the primary consumer, the second consumer we can call as a secondary consumers. Secondary consumers. Which are the secondary consumers on this cow, deer? What are the animals? Depends on primary consumers. For example, deer, tiger, lion, dog are called secondary consumers, we can say them. Which consumers we can call them as a secondary consumers. After the secondary consumers, remember tertiary consumers. Depends on secondary consumers. Okay, which are those that tertiary consumers are, which that we have to learn here. So the tertiary consumers are in the ecosystem. Say for example, we can take an one particular grassland ecosystem, and in that grassland ecosystem, which are the tertiary consumers that we have to study here. Okay, tertiary consumers are the snake, big fishes, etc. Big fish, etc. These are called tertiary consumers. And sometime in some ecosystem there is a quaternary consumers like hawk bird. These are called quaternary consumers, or we can say them as a top consumers, top carnivorous we can call. Directly on the plants, what are the depends? They are called herbivorous. And on herbivorous, whatever the animals are depends, they are called carnivorous. Tiger, lion, dog, big fish, that all are called carnivorous. After that, there is a one more consumer, what we can say them as a quaternary consumers. That depends on the tertiary, then some ecosystem, that depends on the tertiary consumers. ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಸಸ್ಯದ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬದುಕುವಂಥ ಜೀವಿಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಹರ್ಬಿವರಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್. ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬದುಕುವಂಥ ಜೀವಿಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಬದುಕುವಂಥ ಜೀವಿಗಳನ್ನ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಡಾಗದ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಗ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಲಯನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಪಾಂಡ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬಿಗ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬಿಗ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಏನಿದಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಥರ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತವೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಹವಾಕ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಇರ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಥರ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊರಿ, ತನ್ನ ಸ್ವಂತದ ಫುಡ್ ತಾನೇ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವು ಬೇರೆ ಜೀವಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ ತನ್ನ ಫುಡ್ ಆಪ್ಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ, ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತಾವೆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಏನು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಏನು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ? ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಏನು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ? ಹವಾಕ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಥರ ಈ ಫುಡ್ ಚೈನ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಫುಡ್ ಚೈನ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ, ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಒಂದು ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ ದಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ. Producers, say for example grassland ecosystem ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರ್ತವೆ? ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಯಾರು ಬದುಕ್ತಾರ? ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಯಾರ? ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್. ಇದು ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ. ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಯಾರು ಬದುಕ್ತವೆ? ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಏನು ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ? ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ. ಫ್ರಾಗ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಟರ್ಷರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಯಾವಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ಸ್. ಆ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದ. ಕ್ವಾಟರ್ನರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಹವಾಕ್ ಬರ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಥರ ಇದು ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಟಾಪ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹ್ಯಾವಾಕ್ ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಇದು ಏನಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ. ಆ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇದು ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ. ಫ್ರಾಗ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಸ್ನೇಕ್ಸ್ ಬದುಕ್ತವೆ. ಸ್ನೇಕ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹ್ಯಾವಾಕ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ ಬದುಕ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ ನಾವು ರಿಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನಡ್ರಿ ಈಗ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಇವುಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, which are the micro consumers then? Micro consumers are after the death of plant, animal, frog, say hawk. So all these after death, their dead body is decomposed by bacteria, fungi, all these are micro consumers. Micro consumers are referred as decomposers. They decompose what they decompose? Organic dead body into inorganic nutrients, inorganic form, which is available for again reabsorption for the plants. So these are called micro consumers. Which are the micro consumers? Decomposers are called micro consumers. Bacteria, plant, animals act on dead organic matter or dead body which contains organic matter. On that dead body, bacteria, fungi decomposes and form inorganic salts or inorganic ions. That inorganic ions which is again available for the plants, for reusable, for reabsorption. So this process is called decomposers. Decomposition, the process is called decomposition, and decomposition is carried out by decomposers. Okay, I hope student you understood this one. What is the name of this? Called as biotic and abiotic components which are present in the ecosystem that we have studied. Which are the abiotic and which are the biotic components which are present in the ecosystem that we have studied. Okay, next video we can go for the pond ecosystem. Thank you.